So today we're going to be doing Plant Identification 101. Not memorizing Latin names, not trying to be a walking field guide. We're learning how to think about plants and introduce ourselves to the way we categorize and get to know them. And I'm going to give you 3 things to notice. This isn't everything that you're going to need to identify a plant, but it is a really wonderful start. Ready? Okay, so let's start with the first framework or category, the growth habit of a plant. And this is whether it's a tree or a shrub or an herbaceous plant. And if it's a tree, we know it's a tree because it has one primary stalk. If it's a shrub, it has multiple woody stalks or stems. And then if it's a vine, we see it climbing or trailing or wrapping itself around another plant or creeping along the ground. We also have a category of plant growth habits that are grass-like, so those are graminoids, and they have narrow leaves, they're often in clumps, and they have a low-growing growth habit. The architecture of the growth habit really matters in learning to identify plants. The second category or question to ask yourself is the plant herbaceous or woody? This is one category that people often skip because they think it's obvious, but really it's not always that obvious. So herbaceous plants generally have soft, green stems, little to no persistent woody tissue, and a lot of them die back to the ground at the end of the growing season, much like this plant right here. Woody plants, on the other hand, have persistent stems. They add growth year after year, they make bark, and they don't disappear when winter hits. So when you walk up to a plant, instead of asking, "What is this?" you should ask, "Is this herbaceous or woody? Can I bend the stems easily? Is it juicy and green?" It's probably herbaceous. Does it have bark, buds, or a persistent twig? A stem that clearly survived from last year and it's alive, not like this one. It's going to be a woody plant. Now, a fun caveat, young woody plants can absolutely look herbaceous for a minute. So don't marry one trait. You need to be stacking your clues. And the reason this matters is because you just eliminated half of the plant kingdom in about 5 seconds by just knowing whether a plant is woody or herbaceous. All right, let's move on to framework 3, deciduous or evergreen. So deciduous plants drop their leaves annually. Evergreen plants retain foliage for more than 1 year, except when someone learns about deciduous conifers and their brain explodes and they think botany's a scam. So when you're out in winter, look up. Is the canopy bare? And are the leaves on the ground or are the leaves still on the trees? Deciduous patterns really matter when doing plant identification. If a plant is still holding onto its leaves, it's an evergreen. And at this stage, we're just gathering information about a plant. We're building a profile, and the more seasons you observe a plant, the better you're going to get at plant identification. Okay, now let's stack our 3 new questions. You walk up to a plant, you don't say anymore, "Is this edible?" You say, "What's the growth habit? Woody or herbaceous? Deciduous or evergreen?" So by the time that you've answered those 3 questions, you are well on your way to identifying a plant. And here's the thing I want you to hear really clearly. Plant identification is a skill. Nobody comes out of the womb knowing botanical identification, and you build this with repetition and exposure. And I'll tell you what slows people down more than anything else. They try to memorize species before they understand the structure of how to identify plants. And that's kind of like trying to learn people's names before you understand what a human face looks like. So that's why I think it's really important to start with the structure and why I've outlined these 3 categories. So also I wanted to give you kind of a quick safety sidebar. If you take nothing else from today, remember this: if you can't positively identify a plant, you don't eat it. Full stop. Not "it looks like the picture" or not "the app said 75% confidence." You really need contradictory confidence. And that means if someone better at botany and identification asks you why you think this plant is whatever plant you're looking at, you have the data points to tell them why you think this idea is accurate, because plant identification is not intuition. intuition. It's not, this seems edible. It's attention to the small details, it's pattern recognition, and it's building a relationship with each plant individually. And if you skip any of those steps on the journey towards competence, you're going to eventually hurt yourself. And I'm going to say this bluntly because I care about you and I think it's really important to know this. I think a lot of people believe that plant ID apps are infallible, and really they're tools and they get better as the years go on, but they are not the end all be all authorities that will give you the confidence to eat a plant you just met. They are fine for brainstorming and as part of your identification data set, but an ID from a plant app isn't a green light for ingestion. Okay, now I'm off my soapbox. Now, I would love it if you would just go outside and pick 5 plants and run through this checklist and see if you can solidify this learning into your mind. Don't name them, you're just gonna go out and categorize them. Their growth habit, whether they're woody or herbaceous, and whether they're evergreen or deciduous. That's it. You're training your brain to see patterns. And when you do this in person with someone helping support you in real time, it accelerates your learning. I'm saying it because plant ID clicks so much faster when you're physically standing in front of a plant with someone who knows what they're doing and they're coaching you. It really starts with these frameworks. So stop asking, what is this? And start asking those 3 questions. And I promise you the forest will start making a lot more sense. Okay, that's Plant Identification 101. There will be more easy plant ID classes here on our YouTube, so don't forget to like and follow. And now go practice, and remember, be safe and have fun.